No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
It's Monday, August 26, 2024. This is CVM News at noon. I'm Nika Lewis. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark has made history as the first Caribbean national appointed Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. That means he's out of the Holness-led cabinet, expected to assume his new role come October 31. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is expected to announce Clark's replacement soon, but until then, he's offered best wishes, claiming the appointment as commendation of his administration.
No citizen of Jamaica, or the Caribbean for that matter, has ever before served at this level in the IMF. This is a historic and important development in which I take immense pride. The elevation of Minister Clark is demonstrative of the depth, strength, and capacity of my administration.
Minister Holness has already identified Clark's successor, but has chosen not to disclose further details at this time. Instead, he says the focus is on ensuring a smooth transition of responsibilities.
We will provide updates in due course, and the public can expect policy continuity and a continuation of the economic achievements that this government has worked so hard to secure.
Meanwhile, all eyes are fixed on who Prime Minister Andrew Holness will tap to be the next Minister of Finance, the third highest-ranked member of the cabinet. Attention is now being placed on Favour Williams, who currently leads the education and youth portfolios. Williams was promoted to Minister without portfolio on March 23, 2018, in a cabinet reshuffle which paired her with the newly appointed Dr. Nigel Clark. She is the first woman in Jamaica to be appointed in that role. She previously served as State Minister from 2016 to 2018, while Audley Shaw was Minister. She also held the energy portfolio and technology portfolios. Mrs. Williams is a chartered financial analyst by profession. She has an MBA with concentration in finance from the Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania and an undergraduate degree in economics from Harvard University. The Minister of Finance must be a member of the House of Representatives, therefore cannot be appointed from the Senate. And the Jamaica Labour Party has confirmed that three-term councillor Dwayne Smith will replace Dr. Nigel Clark as its candidate in St. Andrew Northwestern. Smith is a son of the former MP and Government Minister Derek Smith. The younger Smith, who represents the Chancery Hall Division, sought to replace his father in 2018 after his retirement. However, Dr. Clark got the nod in order to be installed as the country's finance minister, replacing Audley Shaw. Dr. Clark's selection caused rancor in the constituency as the executive was prepared to line up behind Dwayne Smith. Now, Dr. Clark won the subsequent by-election over the PNP's Keisha Hale, the principal of Padmore Primary, by over 1,600 votes. He retained the seat in the 2020 general election with a majority of 4,000. In other news now, an alleged housebreaker was fatally shot by a licensed firearm holder in the upscale community of Ingleside in Mandeville, Manchester on Saturday. Reports are that at about 6 p.m., the firearm holder returned home and saw the intruder inside. The intruder reportedly attacked the firearm holder with a hammer and a knife, resulting in the homeowner discharging his weapon. Further reports are that at about 2 p.m. on Sunday, during a search of bushes in Ingleside Boulevard, the man's body was found. The incident follows the shooting of an alleged intruder by an off-duty policeman a week ago on New Acres Drive in Mandeville. Uncertainty looms despite the health minister's assertion that Jamaica is prepared should there be an Mpox outbreak. Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, was declared a public health emergency by the World Health Organization WHO on August 14 after an upsurge in cases across the African continent. Junior Shadow spokesperson on health, Dr. Jesse James Clark, is voicing his concern, adding the ministry previously dropped the ball in its treatment of Mpox cases on the island.
With the recent declaration by the World Health Organization about monkeypox being a world health emergency, I have concerns about what is happening locally in terms of our preparation. We would have had some experience with monkeypox from as early as 2022 here on the island, and there were some mistakes that were made, and we're hoping that they won't be repeated. For example, one of the key things is when persons are isolated for suspected to have the disease, or we're waiting for confirmation that they do actually have the disease, that isolation period, we want to ensure that is strictly adhered to. We had seen in the past where persons who were supposed to be in isolation happened to leave the hospital or leave the area that they were in isolation. So we want to ensure that proper isolation areas are created for them before we actually have another case of monkeypox here locally. That is one concern. The next concern is also to ensure the security of our borders in terms of monitoring the persons coming in for symptoms of monkeypox or Mpox as it's now being called. So in terms of looking out for those lesions, fever and so on, we want that screening, especially for persons who have a history of traveling to countries that are heavily affected.
Data has shown that the number of earthquakes, both felt and unfelt, has been increasing over the last 3 years. Professor in the field of sedimentary geology at UWI Mona, Simon Mitchell, along with the head of the earthquake unit also at the UWI Mona, Kevin Tanku, spoke this morning on Sunrise, explaining their concerns.
So we got some images that we're going to show. So if we can see the first image to begin with. The first image shows the earthquakes that have happened over the last 4 years. And what we see in this case is we see the 3 earthquakes which I've been basically concerned about, as has Kevin, by the way, as well. But you can see that the more recent one is not associated with quite as many earthquakes as the one which was in October last year.
Right.
And if you look back at that one, there's a very, very significant peak of earthquakes in the few days around that actual, basically, earthquake. And the other thing you can actually see from that is that if you look at the earthquakes before that event, there's only about 13 or 14 per month. Now, when you get past that event, that's increased to 23, and it's still high.
Wow.
So since we had that big event, that 5.6, which pretty much everybody felt.
Yes.
All right. Since we've had that, we are seeing a higher number of earthquakes per month continuing.
Well, first of all, in terms of preparedness.
Well, stay with us. CVM News at Noon continues after the break.
Your trusted partner in health and wellness for over 30 years, with 8 convenient pharmacies across Eastern Jamaica. Supermed Mall Pharmacy, Supermed New Kingston, Supermed Pepine, Supermed Port Antonio Pharmacies 1 and 2, Claire's St. Mary, Lloyd's St. Thomas, and a convenient drive-through at our Hughenden location where you can get your medication without leaving your car. We're dedicated to providing you with the highest level of care. Experience the difference with Supermed family of pharmacies. Super happy, super healthy.
And you go down and have a good day. Blessing. Supermed.
You know what's sweet? The new Mpox Sweet Living Promotion. Win great prizes.
Bedroom set, living room set, or kitchen appliance set plus TVs and monthly cash prizes.
Send in 5 new pack labels or a receipt. Labels must belong to at least the new pack canned beans, coconut milk powder, and new pack oil categories. Fill out the tagline. New pack, more than just value. Place your entry in one of the drop boxes at participating outlets. Enter by mail or online at newpackjamaica.com. Time for live sweet. Enter the new Mpox Sweet Living Promotion, June 16 to August 31. See the press for more details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Welcome back. It's now time for our discussion segment where we'll be talking a lot more about the appointment of our very own Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clarke, to a new role in the International Monetary Fund come October 31. It's a big appointment, but joining us to discuss this and other related matters is Opposition Spokesman on Finance, Julian Robinson. We want to hear his reaction to today's news that Dr. Nigel Clarke will now be appointed Deputy Managing Director of the IMF. Welcome, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you and to your viewers.
Indeed.
The first thing I would say, I want to congratulate Nigel and wish him very well. It is a significant appointment for a Jamaican, a Caribbean national, somebody from the third world to get elevated to what is the second highest position within the IMF. We hope his presence there would have an influence in terms of how the IMF treats with developing countries, particularly small island developing countries like Jamaica. I would say whoever succeeds him has a full entry of pressing issues that they will have to deal with. The first one relates to what I consider to be a hole in the budget, the $45 billion, which was announced in the budget debate on the securitization of receivables, for which we have gotten absolutely no details on. We don't know which receivables are being securitized. We don't know the rate. We have no details on that. Secondly, I expect there to be a supplementary budget in September to deal with the expenditures which have arisen as a result of Hurricane Beryl. Dr. Clarke had said just before Parliament went on a break, we had $5 billion that we would use. But when you look at the estimates to deal with Beryl, you're talking about close to $40 billion. So there has to be reallocation of resources because the government has said there's no intention to borrow to deal with the matters that have arisen as a result of Beryl.
So go ahead. You've opened quite the pot of worms, but I wanted you to just take them in strides. So you are going to give us number 3, and then I'm getting a chance to come in, right?
Right. And then third, there are still a number of unresolved issues coming out of the compensation review. The public sector unions are restive. There are issues around the payment of increments that have to be addressed. So the point I'm making is whoever comes in, on top of a projection of a decline in growth for the upcoming quarter, plus we have seen, even though we have had positive economic growth, the rate of growth has been declining over the last 9 quarters. So whoever takes over has a full entry of pressing issues to deal with. While we congratulate Dr. Clarke and wish him well, those issues have to be dealt with almost immediately.
Yes. Very quickly before we go to the first break, how valuable, therefore, do you believe Dr. Clarke's perspective can be in terms of coming from a middle-income country like Jamaica? How much of policy impact do you think that could have?
I'm hoping that he has that kind of influence because he would have been in the seat, would have understood the challenges that we faced. He played a role in bringing our debt to GDP significantly down. And the issues and the vulnerabilities that small island developing states face, the issues of natural disasters like hurricane, which can just derail your economic program. So I'm hoping that, that perspective will be brought to bear with the IMF and that you will see more what I would call favorable treatment of small island developing countries.
All right, stay with us. We're up on a quick break. We'll be right back. More after these.